Welcome, everyone. We are so glad you joined us. We had about 400 people in the waiting room, but we have a very large registration number. So we are so excited to get started. We're going to give folks about another minute to join us. If you would put your name and where you're calling in from in the chat, we can say hello. We've got Bree from New Hampshire and Steve from California. Ooh, it's going really fast. I'm just gonna, South Carolina, Connecticut, Oregon, Massachusetts, Delaware, Seattle, New York, North Carolina, Illinois, Virginia, Maine, California, Iowa. I guess the moral of the story is we have people joining us tonight from coast to coast. I'm waiting to see Hawaii or Alaska, and then I know we have made it because it's very late. We're going to give it, people are still joining and coming in. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. It looks like people joining. It looks like it's slowing down a bit. Jody, are we ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. We're so glad you're here. We want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us in the crucial fight to reduce the spread and impact of disinformation. If you haven't had a chance to say hi in the chat, we'd like you to make sure you do that and let us know where you're calling from. It's always tremendously encouraging when we see where everyone's calling in from. It really makes us all know the impact of what we're doing and to see just how widespread our community is and realize that people power is on the side of decency and truth. My name is Kimberly, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am dialing in from coastal Virginia. And you are in the right place if you planned to join the Indivisible Truth Brigade new member orientation and campaign launch call. The Truth Brigade is all about using our grassroots power, along with tons of research and evidence-based practices to disrupt the flow of disinformation. So let's get started. So I love this quote that's on the screen. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society when machines and computers profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. Dr. Martin Luther King certainly saw the future, and it would be harder to find something that speaks more to today's attention economy than this. And I'm sorry, my slide is sticking. Yes. So let's run through some quick housekeeping for tonight. We are recording this call, and we will make sure that we share all of the links and resources that are shared tonight. I just lost my screen. We'll make sure. We are also, since we have such a large call tonight, we are going to ask people, instead of the standard typing your question in the chat, preceded by ask, we're going to ask if you have questions that are directed to the facilitators or staff or the speaker. Please use the Q&A function. And you can use the Q&A function by looking at the bottom of your screen. It will say Q&A, And all you have to do is type your question there, and we'll answer them as we can. We have someone who just asked, are there graphics for the 419 action that we can use? We will be able to more quickly and efficiently answer your questions there. And you can, if someone has typed a question that you also have, you can upvote those questions so that we know lots of people have the same question. We welcome longtime Brigaders and new friends. You'll see familiar content at the beginning of this call. As always, captions are available. Just click on the CC in the menu bar. Now, this is a working call for volunteers and not journalists. So if you are a journalist and you are on this call, please keep in mind that everything you hear is off the record. Jody will stay on the call for a few minutes after we end to answer any questions. We do have quite a packed agenda for this evening. And of course, the golden rule in the chat is to be kind and to say hello in the chat to Juliana and Adrian, who are going to be feverishly answering your questions, and always expect the unexpected. So let's quickly run through the agenda. We're doing the intro now and housekeeping. We're also going to hear from Kelsey about what we're seeing out there in the social media ecosphere. And then we have our special speaker, Julie McMillan from Media Matters, who will be talking to us about the attention economy, followed by information about our most recent campaign. We've got a poll question, and then, as I mentioned earlier, we do have the after call Q&A. Next slide. Before we begin, we want to give a big shout out to the people that you see on the screen. The Truth Brigade has power because you have power. This is a grassroots, volunteer-driven community, and we appreciate every one of you. Those of you who are new to the Truth Brigade, and those of you who are longtime members. Just one meaningful conversation or online post can truly have a ripple effect and can open many minds. We'd like to take a moment to thank our volunteer mentors and ambassadors. We can't take the time to read every name, but we do want to make sure that we are thanking them. Mentors meet with new members to welcome them into the community and to help with messaging, message writing, and just wherever folks need help. Ambassadors share our messaging and education with their Indivisible groups. Now, this is a fantastic way to bring groups together. If you would like to be a mentor and you haven't joined the Truth Brigade yet, joining is the best way to get connected. We'll send you the link and all of the information that you need. If you'd like to be an ambassador, of course, we also have a form for that. We'll send you that link as well. So thank you. Can we get some hearts and love in the chat for our wonderful volunteers? Lastly, more good news. Almost 250 of you stepped up to join our new pilot project, the Truth Brigade AMP teams. The AMP team is a pilot project that multiplies our impact and builds community. There are 4 AMP teams. There's social media, which includes Blue Sky, Instagram, and video sharing. There's Reddit, and then there's folks that enjoy long form media like letters to the editor and offline conversations. The AMP team formally formed and chose preliminary roles last week on our call. Volunteer team guides will meet with staff for additional planning this Friday and Monday, and each team will choose and launch its first action soon after. Guides, if you haven't received your invitation yet, please email us at truthbrigade@indivisible.org. That's truthbrigade@indivisible.org. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? And impactful. And if you want to get in on the AMP team fun, we'll send you the link. The link will also be included, of course, in the follow-up email. So now, It's your turn to brag. Have you used Brigade tactics since we last met? Did you find them helpful? We have a poll that we're going to launch now, and you should see it on your screen. It's your turn to shout out the wonderful work that you've been doing. I do not see responses populating.
I can. It's wonderful.
Okay, wonderful. If you could, normally we can see the percentage.
Yeah.
So Jody, if you
Yeah.
want to do that, I can't see it.
Well, we're at 35% already,
Okay.
getting close to half. And I don't know if you'll see the results, Kimberly. Whoops, I just got so excited. I went backwards a slide. Should I just go ahead and tell what people are saying?
Absolutely, because I can't see the results.
Okay, so it's just really great. You know, a lot of people are brand new and so haven't had conversations, but a lot of people have. And then a lot of newcomers said, thanks for just shouting them out in the poll. I don't know if everybody can see the second question just says, welcome newcomers. And then the other actions people have been taking, so many things, so many people have been researching and learning. A lot of people have posted a few messages. That's like 34%. Wow, 11% have written a letter to the editor already. 15% have talked to a group. 19% have done something else. 34% have posted in social media. So it's just really exciting to see all the work that all of you have been doing. Oh, 19% have attended an AMP call. So I think we're at 62%.
All right.
So maybe just give it another 10 seconds or so. Yeah, if you got something to brag about, make sure you pop it in there because we do study these polls and just love hearing from you. Wish we could talk to you all independently, but it doesn't quite work. Well, I think probably we should move on. What do you think, Kimberly? Since we're
Absolutely.
I think maybe, yeah. Oh, somebody ended the poll, so I think we're good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to show you a video with our advisor, Kelsey Suter, who will, we hope, appear twice. And her first time, she's going to be talking about what we're seeing in the ugly world of disinformation. I just want to give everybody a heads up. We did have some trouble with the sound earlier. So if you're having any trouble seeing or hearing this, do let us know right away in the chat because I'll just unskip the slides she was going to be doing and speak to them. So we'll go ahead and share the video. Cross our fingers.
We are not hearing the sound, Jody.
Not hearing the sound. Okay. So nobody heard that, right? Okay, so I'm just going to head and I'm going to unskip. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. That just happened. That's why we were a little bit late popping open the call because all of a sudden, you know, technology. So just give me a second. I'm going to unskip Kelsey's slides so that I can tell you what she's seeing out there in the world of disinformation. I have to get out of my presentation mode for a second. Okay, are you seeing Kelsey's face, everybody? You're seeing the actual slide, right?
We're seeing the slide that begins.
Thank you. Okay, so what's happening out there in the world? And I'll leave all the thumbs up. Thank you so much. And thanks for your patience. This will happen again later in the call. I'll try to set it up for you. So basically what's happening out there, as you probably know, is tariffs and a trade war were all justified. with inaccurate analysis and fake numbers. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that and heard that, but it is so significant that, at this global level that we're seeing, lies being perpetuated to justify crashing, people, crashing economies. And, I know you all see the same thing. I'm not sure if you've seen the NSC firings. Linda Loomer is a conspiracy theorist who has no place in administration, and yet she seems to have the ear of the administration and is spreading a lot of lies about the people who were fired. White House allies are attacking the federal judge who's halting the deportation flights and looking into the use of signal channels. I think you all know what happened on Signal, where, um, funnily enough, secret private plans were revealed to the world. And then, of course, forever, ongoing culture war lies, disinformation wants to target vulnerable communities, and it certainly isn't stopping now. So that's what's happening out in the world. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump in and just give you a quick background about disinformation generally and the Truth Brigade specifically. And right after that, we get to hear our speaker. So some definitions of disinformation. I'm looking to my left, by the way, because that's where the screen that has the unskipped slides is. So you all have heard about disinformation. That's the lies that are perpetuated. But actually, the number of people who are deliberately spreading lies is relatively small, in the hundreds. And disinformation really does refer to deliberately spread lies, people who want to gain profit and want to gain power by spreading the lies. But misinformation is the bulk of the, false things that we're seeing out there. It's false, but it's not deliberately spread. And that's an important distinction to make, as you'll hear. And then malinformation is something we see a lot. And that's where a tiny bit of accurate data is used to then blow up the opposite. So what that means is, for example, let's say on a COVID research project or other kind of scientific study, there were 3 people who got sick or something. So what malinformation is someone who says 3 people got sick from this and then uses it to justify all kinds of, just unconscionable actions. So, and we see a lot of that in 2025. Again, disinformation is a bully. It's all about targeting vulnerable communities. Disinformation is spread to vulnerable communities because they want people who are already feeling vulnerable to now feel othered and now feel like they have no sense of power and that they have no ability to have any influence over the system. And also for people who are new or to America, it's trying to undermine trust in public institutions, stop voting. And then what a lot of people see all the time is disinformation about vulnerable communities. Why is that done? For as long as people have existed, people gain power by pointing the finger at the people who are the least powerful. It divides people, it can dehumanize people, and you know where that leads at its worst. And also it diverts attention and diverts blame. So the disinformers playbook, just so that you all know, disinformers don't care about the issues. A lot of people wonder and say about hypocrisy. They say, oh my God, these people, who are spreading lies are on one side 1 minute and the other side the other minute. And, 1 minute they're, against drilling or whatever. And the next minute they're for it. Well, the reason they do that is that it doesn't matter to them. The people who are spreading disinformation just pick what they think is going to get people most outraged and get the most attention. The gain is always to gain profit and power. So don't bother trying to point out hypocrisy. Nobody who's being a hypocrite cares. What they care is that they get your attention, build a demand for their leadership to solve the fake problems that they invent. And that's been going on, again, since the beginning of time, really. And it's still the same old bag of tricks. They're using repetition to make people feel like something is true when it's not. They're using, emotionally triggering things to get people's attention and forget to think with their thinking part of their brain. It's all, the same old tricks. And it's the same old tricks, and there's also the same old solutions. There is a bit of difference, though, in what we're seeing right now, and that is in 2025, we're seeing the false claims that have harmed thousands of people, just with the destruction of USAID and all the lies that were perpetuated to support that, and all the other people who have lost their jobs, people losing food, people losing, just all kinds of support. So the harm is so real. Platforms are more deregulated than ever in 2025. The big tech folks have just given up on trying to regulate things, and it's just so ugly out there. Government websites have taken down at least 8,000 pages of good information for no reason. The searches that they're doing are, based on DEI or the word gay. I think you probably all saw that. I think things about the Enola Gay were taken off of the White House website. So that's just despicable that factual information is harder to find. And mainstream media isn't helping. They're just normalizing all the lies. And yet, as I said before, most people don't want to spread misinformation. Most people share the value of the pursuit of truth. So about the Truth Brigade, our vision is that by disrupting disinformation through grassroots mobilization, education, and evidence-based communication tactics, we're going to reclaim our civil society. And we are making a difference. I'm zipping through these slides a bit. We have 9,000 plus, no, now we're up to 11,000 members, more than 600 million online impressions, 2,000 plus offline conversations. So the Truth Brigade system is this. Our advisors study disinformation and identify the most damaging and sticky disinformation. Kelsey, who you saw for a minute, is one of our advisors. We use a formal threat assessment tool. We decide if the disinformation is actually filtered through to the mainstream and actually makes a difference. We write evidence-based persuasive messages for you to personalize. So we write the messages, but then you take them and you personalize them. We share the messages with you via monthly webinars on the second Wednesday of every month. We send out emails every Friday, and we have a very active Slack community and also a Facebook community. After we send you the message, you share your version of it, personalize it and share it, and you engage in productive conversations offline. So this is very much an online and offline program. And then we all practice non-engagement and amplification strategies, which I'll get into a little more in a moment. And then we do it all over again. So that's the process, pretty straightforward. Find a message, give you the message, you share the message, and come back for more. So what our practices are built on are these. So what works? Peer-to-peer persuasion. This is one of the beauties of having a grassroots program with so much ugly mistrust out there. You make the difference. The people you talk to directly, that's still the most powerful way of getting people to open their minds, finding common values and getting people to open their minds one-to-one or within your own networks, because then it spreads out. And then education. When people are given simple tips about disinformation and learn how to recognize it, some, really simple things like, have they checked, do the sources make sense? Do the headlines match the content? Really simple things like that. When people are reminded of that, they start thinking and they're less likely to spread disinformation. That's the whole misinformation thing I was talking about before. And then tactical non-engagement. Don't argue, factual arguments entrench opposition. And then online, if you engage with the trolls in any way, it increases the visibility. Just don't do it. And then offline, facts and stats. In person, it usually makes people more fixed in their views. One thing that I used to say, and a lot of people say, is if only they had all the facts, they'd feel differently. Well, that actually creates an us versus them mentality and doesn't actually give people the respect that they need in order to trust us and then open their mind. So we don't want to increase resentment. There's enough of that out there. So what does work is first finding common values. And that means, just find something that you share. I talked about COVID earlier. Well, somebody who believes in vaccinations and somebody who doesn't believe in vaccinations, both people believe that they want their children to be healthy and they want themselves to be healthy and they want to trust their doctors and so on. So, you naming that and suddenly you've got trust. The second piece of what works is prompting source checking, asking questions so people start thinking for themselves. And when they start thinking for themselves, that's called accuracy inoculation. That combination of common values and empathy and accuracy inoculation shifts people into an information-seeking mindset. So that was kind of zipping through. I just want to tell you a little bit about the attention economy, and then welcome our guest speaker, Julie. I think we're on time now. Everybody doing okay? Sorry, I kind of rushed a little bit. Thumbs up for all the listeners. Am I talking too fast? Hope not. I got a lot of thumbs up, and apologies to anybody if I'm talking fast. Again, we are going to be sharing out this parts of this video. And oh, I see like a shocked face there. Oh, some hearts. Anyway, so I will slow down also, because the attention economy is why so many of you are here, which says to me that you've probably learned a bit about it. What happens in today's attention economy is really significant, because attention, our attention is now a commodity, and it's like corn and computers and, I don't know, desks and chairs, and it's bought and sold. And you think about that for a minute, that our brains and who we are is now for sale. And big tech steals and sells our attention. And I use that word steal very consciously, because our attention is stolen by the simple human fact that we are attracted when our emotions are triggered. That doesn't mean we're attracted to truthful things. And it doesn't mean that we're attracted to things that resonate with our hearts, because the things that resonate with our hearts, typically are not going to like flip us around. They're not going to, grab us in. There's, gentle things. So the values that we all share, caring for our families, caring for other people, wanting to, feed our families, and wanting the world to be clean and a good place. That's what people generally, that's where most people are. And yet what's happening online is that our attention is being grabbed by emotions, violence, outrage, and fear, because big corporations then buy advertising on these social media platforms. I'm sure Julie will tell us a lot more about that, with advertising dollars. And then the White House right now, which is different, is exploiting our attention or inattention to sell us back disinformation. So you can probably sense this can have dire consequences. There's important knowledge, history, philosophy, current affairs, the things you study. Those things, as I mentioned, aren't attention getting. And when people are bombarded with attention getting things, they eventually check out. And when people are bombarded with differing opinions, they lose trust. So that's the downside of an attention economy. But attention and trust can be rekindled. And that's why we're here today. That's our job. And I'm really delighted to introduce Julie Milliken here, who's a vice. All that definitely, yeah, definitely continue. I mean, I know, share the love. Julie will see it even while I'm talking. And yeah, just distracted by how great that was. One thing I want to say, since I know some people will have to jump off at the hour, is that next month, the second Wednesday of the month, we are going to be having a new member orientation call, which will be filled with a lot more kind of hands-on instruction, so that we can see what we can do, both working together to amplify our content and also one-on-one to get the, to really make an impact. I do know, in watching those slides, how much of an uphill battle it seems. And I saw a lot of things in the chat where people were saying, but, what can we possibly do? It seems like the odds are against us. Well, maybe they are, but what are we going to do, right? Are we going to just sit back, and do nothing? No, I mean, there's enough people who, even with all of this right-wing ecosystem, again, I will say that at heart, most people that you talk to don't share that garbage and don't want to share that garbage. And so all we can do is just continue and continue and continue to do what we can and bring more people into the fold. It seems simple, but I'm not going to lay down, and I have a good feeling that none of you are either. So what you can see on my screen is our current message campaign. So it is on the attention economy. And what we've provided here, wait a second, I'm just going to go back, is a series of messages. So there's one core message and then 4 or 5 related messages that take topical issues but connect them to the attention economy. So the message is essentially, do you feel assaulted by information? That's by design. It's not by accident. It's profit drive stunts that, and then you can see the various messages shifting through. It might be a little small on your screen, but we're talking about things like banning books and, condemning immigrants and harming our mental health and harming our environment and fueling anti-trans hysteria. So again, you'll see that you'll have a lot of messages that you can share and personalize. I'm zipping through. This is the video that you can't hear or see. There we go. All right, so we've talked a lot about the attention economy, so I'm not going to spend time, explaining what we've already talked through. I'll just get right into the message. All of our messages are designed in a 3-part framework based on the best practices that we saw earlier. First, we find common values, whether we're in a conversation or writing a post or writing a Reddit article or writing a letter to the editor. We start with something we can all agree on to bring people in. Then we disrupt. We disrupt by asking people to think. So in our current message, the first bring people in sentence is drowning in a sea of digital noise, wonder why? So I think most people would agree that we are drowning in a sea of digital noise. And so then we provoke some questions. Then we provide some facts. It's not an accident. And then our attention is hacked by big tech and exploited by the White House, and so on. And then the third part of our message is a dream. And that's where we share a future that we can see without these lies. And we inspire and we uplift. So the end of this message is we do have power to change this. Let's uplift truth, not feed the outrage. And then if you're online, a hashtag Truth Brigade. So that's our current message. These are the way you'll see that the messages actually look. This is the graphics that will accompany the social media messaging. Now, our campaign messages that I've just zipped through, they always have detailed explainers. The explainer for this month's message is about 9 pages long. It's got a lot of explanatory content. It has a lot of links that you can use. It has guides to customize the messages based on the platform, and also ideas as to how you can personalize the messages. And it has links to all the graphics. And so you will get that in the follow-up to this call, also in the Friday email. We also have a conversation guide that we'll send you. So if you are having a conversation about these issues offline, you'll have some guidance for that. And we also have a social media platform. It's called Socia. We've posted all of these messages on that platform. If you like, you can get there with just one click, and then it will pop you into the network that you want to post in. And at that point, you'll have an opportunity to personalize your message, which, as Julie said, is super important. So you're in. Where do you start? I've seen a few people asking this in the chat. Just sign up to receive our Friday emails. That's a great start. There's so much information that we've been throwing at you today. Really, just if all you do is read the emails, you're doing something important. Take your time in getting involved until you feel comfortable and then dive in. I hope that link works. You sign up by, you can hold your phone up to that link, the QR code that we're showing here, or just watch your email for our follow-up. So now we have a quick poll. Again, if you need to jump, that's fine. And before we launch the poll, I'll just go to the last slide and then we'll come back to the poll. We have on May 14th that new member orientation and message campaign launch that I mentioned. And I will put up the code again. And then, relax. We had a breathing exercise that we had to skip at this time, but do breathe. This is a lot. Like I said, read the emails, learn stuff. And then a great next step might be just schedule a time in your calendar to either learn some more stuff or if you're ready to write some messages. So we're just so happy that you've been here with us. And now we're going to launch a poll. And at the same time, we'll keep this QR code up for anybody who needs it. Oh, Mary Beth, thank you for your compliments on our graphics. The woman who designs them, her name is Nicole, and she's amazing. So the poll is asking you what your action plans will be. The more you commit to something, even by filling out a poll, the more you're likely to do it. And that's one of the reasons that we have these kinds of polls. It's just to help us all increase our own accountability, which is really tricky. Thank you so much for the purpose who are filling it out. I see that, we've still got more than 800 people here. Thank you so much for your attention and also your patience with our video challenges. So we'll just let the poll run a little longer, and then I'll be glad to stay on, and Jules is going to help me see if I can answer some questions. There may be some for Julie that I can't answer, but I'll do my best. Kimberly, can you see the poll this time?
I can, but I can't see the results.
Ah, got it. Well, we're at already more than 400 people have filled it out. Oh my goodness. We so appreciate this. There's some of these items in the poll that will require follow-up. Like if you said that you wanted to become an ambassador, we'll follow up with you. Our follow-ups, by the way, are taking a little longer than they usually do because we're just rushing out so many things right now to try to empower you to take action. But they will come, especially on our ambassadors and our mentor program too, by the way. Adrian's been working so hard on that. We're bringing in more mentors because there's so many people who've asked for mentors. So if you've asked for a mentor, you will get contacted, but it might be a couple weeks. So we're at 500 and almost 550. I'd say maybe about 30 seconds more, and then we will close down the poll and I'll stay on and chat a bit. I'll wait till we get to 600. How's that? We're getting there. Maybe 575. Okay, just blew away 575. So I think we can probably, we can keep the poll open if you like while I start answering some questions. And I will stop sharing my screen and say, goodbye to everybody who's going on to your evenings, and big thanks for being with us. And then ask the wonderful Jules and Kimberly, if you're still here, if you want to tell me some of the questions that people have put into our Q&A and see if I'll give it the old college try. And Adrian's with us too. So Adrian, if there's, if you want to jump in and help answer, I'll be welcome.
Lauren asks, I've been thinking about how this attention economy is being manipulated, much like an addict is hooked. I believe that addicts want to get higher and not just high. Are there tactics that come from the addiction intervention experience that can be implemented as well as more bombarding to feed the insatiable attention starved individual?
That is a marvelous question. And frankly, I don't know the answer. And, I'm going to, see if I can connect with Julie later and find out what she thinks, because what I do know is that being constantly bombarded with, outrageous and, emotionally triggering information is exhausting. And so there is a part of it where it makes people sort of step away from everything as opposed to wanting to see more and more of it. So that is a factor. But then there's also the factor, the fact that people are becoming accustomed to seeing just the most exciting things. And we're seeing that, in just regular television shows too. There's more violence, there's more sex, there's more, controversy. And so I don't know if it's the addiction model, but I think it's a really interesting thing to look at. Can you imagine 12 steps to not being, you know,
That
actually there are people who are addicted to video and there are steps around that. But anyway, I think it's a great question. And again, all I know is that there's two different components to it. One is that it's turning us off, making us check out in very not good ways. And but I do think that we are coming to expect short-term doses of adrenaline that we're seeing online, and that's not a good thing. I don't know if you're fine, like I find it harder just to read a book now because I'm so used to reading things in short takes. I tend to read more headlines and less content, so I think we're all susceptible. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. I see one thumbs up out there. Is there another question?
Um, okay, so Rick asks, how might we crack open MAGA's wall to save our democracy from autocracy and build a purple tsunami to wash away the BIP wall and the folks with mental health issues who love to cultivate equity meta governance?
Yeah, again, boy, you guys, there's such thoughtful questions. Again, this is one with several answers. What I would say is, first off, we do have to be really thoughtful and careful about who we engage with because we are not, frankly, none of us here are going to be able to storm the White House and get anybody who's deliberately spreading disinformation to stop. You know, where where we can have an impact is at the recipients, at those like 85% of the people who are spreading misinformation accidentally. So I think we have to kind of let go for now. There's not like a giant effort that we can make that's going to stop the White House from doing what it's doing and other bad actors. But on the other hand, what I'm seeing out there, and something that's really important to the Truth Brigade, is recognizing the humanity in everyone and, don't be limited. We don't want to try to convince people who are completely entrenched in their views. But for people who are starting to feel, hey, there's something wrong going on here, that's when we use our, finding common values tactics. And, it's not even a tactic, it's building a relationship with someone who cares. And if you'll see a lot of, the progressive movement right now is coming together with both campaigns and suggested actions and things like that that are based on a big tent. They're not based on a single issue. They're saying, hey, everybody who's feeling threatened by what's happening now, come together. And I think that might be the blue wave you're talking about. And again, it's for all of us to get organized, to, join groups, whether it's Truth Brigade or other active groups, and bring more people in. Because the more of us, the louder our voices, the more we can make a difference. And with anti-disinformation messages, that's particularly true because it's just about opening people's minds, just getting them to think twice. And it's not that hard. It seems hard to have a conversation with someone whose mind is closed, but I've had a bunch of them, and a lot of people on this call have. I don't know if maybe we should take another question. I was going to ask Adrian if you wanted to give an example, but maybe.
I have a question here about the
Yeah.
almighty algorithms. Christopher asks, makes a statement. I don't understand why we don't tailor our content to what drives the algorithm. Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting thing that maybe you want to address because the algorithms drive what we see. And also, Jody, we got an email from Julie, and she'd like us to share in the chat the grift drift video that she mentioned that uses Russell Brand as a case study. So I'll go on and drop that while you.
Oh, that's so great. I'm so glad you saw that while we're
still can't get enough of us. Yes.
Oh, that's just so great. So about the algorithms, yeah, again, super thoughtful question. We're working hard to like game the algorithms in some ways, but what we can't do is, and we don't do is write sort of incendiary content, which is what rises to the top. And we don't play that game, right? I mean, it's you can't fake it. I don't think this community here is, wanting to make people scared or afraid, that's what we're against. And so in that respect, I don't think you're going to see a lot, but there's a lot of other things you can do with algorithms. Number one, never click, argue, comment on the disinformation. Because every time even if you think you're engaging in an objective discussion, if you're having an objective discussion on a post that's disinformation, all the people who are talking on that post are uplifting the post algorithmically. Our AMP teams are working directly on finding factual content and everybody coming together to, depending on what platform it's on, to upvote it or uplift it or to share it, and to look for video content everywhere. And if it's factual content, then watch it all the way through, because that will up the algorithms for videos. Share it, that will also up the algorithms. And I think anything we can do, to just, there's a lot that you can do to promote good content. And a lot of us just don't, you watch half a video and turn off. But if whenever you see something, you think, hey, this is great, make sure you get it out there. It feels small because it's just, one at a time. But that's kind of our tactic, is keep disinformation off the algorithms as much as possible and come together as much as possible to uplift the good stuff. You think maybe two more questions, you think?
Yeah, this is one that's a very quick question, so we might be able to do another one too, or two more. What is the difference between misinformation and disinformation? I see that a lot of folks have that question ongoing, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah, Adrian, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Let me get out of the Q&A here for a second. Woo, it's flying by. The difference between mis and disinformation. With misinformation, it's basically false information that is generally accidentally shared, or it's not shared with the intent to harm other people. Disinformation, however, is more purposeful. In other words, it is created and then shared and amplified, often with that intent to harm others, especially those in marginalized communities who cannot well defend themselves. So I hope that answers it.
Absolutely.
And another question that's related to that. You say to try to counter disinformation and misinformation, but isn't it contradictory then to say don't engage with Trump supporters?
Oh, that's interesting. So what, in terms of the Trump supporters, what I'm saying, and anybody else feel free to weigh in, but what I'm saying is that when you're thinking about doing persuasive work, you have to protect yourself and you have to make sure that it's going to make a difference. I know there are people who've been involved with the Truth Brigade for a long time who have had conversations with Trump supporters and actually found a way through. And if you feel confident in that kind of conversation, there's no reason not to do it. It's just that, for all the people who are kind of, new at this or uncomfortable with it, I think starting out trying to have this kind of conversation with someone who's so entrenched in their views can be really difficult. And then it's better perhaps to focus on people who have sort of, they're maybe on the edge. But you can definitely have a conversation with a Trump supporter. You can still find common values. You can still ask questions. You can still find your shared dreams. I know a lot of people have done it successfully. So, and then in terms of the word countering disinformation, where I thought you were going was, if you're telling people to counter disinformation, then isn't it disingenuous to say, don't post on their posts? And so in case anybody was wondering that, my answer to that is we use the word counter pretty loosely, because what we do know is that when you're not commenting on their posts, you're lowering it in the algorithms. And in that way, you're stopping the spread of disinformation. You're stopping disinformation from turning into the misinformation that people share. And we do encourage you, let's say there's a conversation going on, we do encourage everyone to write original posts on the same topic. Just don't write the post in answer to a troll or a nasty thing. In articles that you see online, it can be a little bit different. We don't want to uplift the bad content, but if there's an objective article and people are spamming it with a lot of, nasty comments, definitely you can comment and uplift the facts. So that's great content to engage with and a really good thing to do. Maybe one more, guys, you think?
There's this great question. I relate to it, and I think it's a good one, especially during these times. I have always, by Jeff, I have always been taught to use government websites for sources. Where should I turn now?
Mhm.
What a fantastic, isn't that just awful? If you look at the government website or the White House website now, you'll not only not see good information, but you will see tons of press releases just full of, not half truths, not truths, just all kinds of, propaganda. It really, really scary. It's propaganda like, we used to learn about in school from Nazi era, Russian era. So it's a great question. We have their fact check places that are excellent, like factcheck.org, I think, and PolitiFact. We have some of those places listed in the campaign explainer. And I'll take a look too to see if we can add a few more. And then, it's harder, right? You can try going to original sources like universities. There's a lot of scientific publications that I've been finding that are, still posting publicly on research studies. I use a lot of them to, help build out the recommendations that we provide for all of you in our explainers. So I'm always finding, very tough to read scientific articles. So those are still available. So if there's a topic that, you really want to know something about, I think you kind of have to dig. The information is there, but not on the National Administration website. What I don't know is like if there are state government websites that are sharing good information. I don't know, does anybody know that? Because I think it would be interesting. I'm looking around to find the chat to see if anybody's saying.
Phil and Catherine say mass.gov.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's true. Is that a site that is starting to, to store the good information? Because I know New York Times has all the 8,000 pages that were taken off of the White House website. New York Times has saved them and stored them, but I don't know if they're publicly available.
Someone else says Maryland Matters, the state of Oregon.
Yeah, university websites, I see, particularly in their individual school websites, a lot from Stanford. Thanks, Christopher. Stanford also does some great disinformation work.
Yeah, Rachel says ct.gov, Connecticut's state site.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah, it is an ongoing challenge, isn't it? I mean, this is happening in real time.
So Daphne says Alt CDC and Alt NIH et al. Are on Blue Sky.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. Thank you. We'll keep this chat and see if we can add that again to our resources. I think that's kind of it. I don't want to keep everybody any longer. Thanks for your great questions and thanks for your attention today and, for caring enough to be on a call like this. We all appreciate all of you. Thanks, Kimberly, Adrian, and Jules. I think we're going to say good night.